Do you carry an inexplicable sadness, a nameless melancholy, like a grief that was never allowed? It's a subtle weight in your chest, a persistent shadow that accompanies your days, even when everything seems fine on the surface. What happens to the pains and losses that the mind represses, those we avoid facing but that the soul insists on holding, silently weaving them into the fabric of our being? Many of us learn to hide wounds, to disguise losses, to move on as if life were a race with no breaks for mourning. We were taught that crying is weakness, that feeling too much is imprudence, that strength lies in building walls against pain. We repress the loss of an unfulfilled dream, the end of a friendship, the change of a life plan, the symbolic death of a self that never existed. Each silenced resignation, each unspoken farewell, each swallowed frustration accumulates. It doesn't disappear. Instead, it transforms into a submerged river, flowing invisibly beneath the landscape of our consciousness, feeding an inexplicable dryness in the soul, a thirst that no external joy seems to quench. This stagnant water, these unshed tears, accumulate and can manifest in subtle ways: chronic fatigue, irritability for no apparent reason, an emptiness that no achievement can fill. To ignore this river is to allow it to become a swamp of stagnation, preventing the flow of true peace and abundance into your life. In a sun-drenched village, yet with a strange silence at its heart, lived a young woman named Layla. She was known for her beauty and apparent strength. Always the first to help, the last to complain, Layla radiated a competence that everyone admired. But inside there was a stone, an inexplicable weight that seemed to have settled in her heart, making every step of life heavier than it should be. She didn't know where that feeling came from. She just knew it was there, a subtle melancholy that accompanied her like a faithful shadow, even in moments of great joy and celebration. Layla had learned early on that life demanded resilience. When she lost her best friend in childhood to a sudden illness, she heard the adults say, "Be strong, Layla. He wouldn't want to see you sad." And she swallowed her tears, tucking the pain away in a secret compartment of her soul. Years later, when her dream of becoming a weaver of magical tapestries, something her grandmother, a master of the art, had taught her, was thwarted by family financial problems, she convinced herself that dreams are for children. She buried the desire, and with it, a vibrant part of herself, convincing herself that practicality was the only virtue that mattered in such a demanding world. Each disillusionment, each unprocessed farewell, each unfulfilled expectation, Layla stored them away. She wrapped them in layers of moving on, of not having time for this, of being strong. Her eyes, once full of a childish, curious sparkle, now carried an enigmatic, almost sad depth. She was efficient, admirable, but her laughter didn't reach her eyes, and joy always seemed to be a temporary visitor. Layla didn't cry. She didn't mourn. She simply carried on, believing this was the way to honor life and herself. But the submerged river within her was swelling, its murky, dammed waters threatening to overflow. One day, Layla's village faced a severe drought. Surface rivers dried up, wells dwindled, and the soil cracked under the relentless sun. The village's joy faded, replaced by worry and despair. Layla, as always, tried to be the solution. She worked tirelessly, organizing water rationing, seeking new sources, keeping the community united. But no matter how hard she tried, the water wouldn't come, and hope seemed to evaporate, just like the few remaining reserves. Curiously, the external drought seemed to mirror an internal dryness she had been feeling for years, a thirst that even constant agitation couldn't disguise. Exhausted and, for the first time in a long while, unsure what to do, Layla walked to an old well at the edge of the village, a place children avoided, considering it haunted, but which in truth was merely forgotten and dry for decades. As she leaned over the edge, hoping to feel a coolness that didn't come, she saw her own reflection in the murky water at the bottom, a face marked by tiredness, but mostly by an expression of sadness so profound it startled her. This was not just the sadness of the drought. It was the sadness of a life unwept, of a grief that the mind had silenced, but that the soul could not and would not forget. While Layla contemplated her reflection, a figure emerged from the shadows of a tree near the well. It was an elder, with hair white as snow and eyes that seemed to have seen 1,000 lives, known in the village as the Guardian of Tears, though no one knew the exact meaning of her title. The elder sat beside Layla and, without a word, picked up a handful of dry earth from the ground and squeezed it in her hands, letting the dust trickle through her fingers. Layla, curious and at the same time apprehensive, watched every movement, feeling a strange connection with that mysterious woman who seemed to read her soul. "The earth is thirsty, my child," the elder said, her voice soft like an underground stream. "But it does not dry up only from lack of rain. It dries when the submerged river of its own waters is blocked." Layla frowned, not understanding the metaphor. The elder continued, "You hold your losses like stones in your heart, the pain of your friend, the dream of weaving, every unspoken goodbye, every unfelt farewell. These are not stones to carry, but waters to release." She then, with a delicate gesture, took Layla's hand and placed it on the young woman's chest. "Do you feel the river? It is still there, but its source has been blocked by the fear of feeling, by the desire to be strong all the time." The elder explained that grief is not an event, but a process, a river that needs to flow. Tears are not a sign of weakness, but the water that purifies the soul, dissolving the stones of unprocessed sorrow. She told stories of trees that grow stronger only after great storms, of deserts that transform into lush gardens after the most intense rains. Every unlived sorrow, every unmourned loss, becomes a knot in your spirit, preventing the energy of life from flowing freely. You are drying your own soil, Layla, by refusing to allow your submerged river to run, the elder whispered, her voice full of compassion, yet also of an implacable truth. In that moment, something opened in Layla. It was not an intellectual understanding, but a visceral sensation, as if a dam within her had broken. Images of her friend, of her weaver's dream, of all the losses she had locked away flooded her mind. And for the first time in years, Layla allowed herself to cry. Not a silent cry, but a deep sob, coming from her soul, from the depths of a long repressed grief. The tears flowed freely, warm and abundant, wetting the dry earth around her. The elder simply held her, saying nothing more, allowing Layla's submerged river to finally find its way back to the surface, carrying with it the weight of years of denial. Layla's tears watered the dry ground around the well. She cried for hours until no more tears remained, only a profound exhaustion and a lightness never before felt. The elder, who had supported her throughout the process, smiled. "See, my child, the earth drank your tears, and you, finally, drank from your own truth." The next morning, a strange phenomenon occurred. The dry well, where Layla had wept, began to sprout water. Not a flood, but a constant, clear and fresh flow, a trickle of life that promised to fill the well again. The entire village witnessed the miracle of Layla's well, and hope returned to the eyes of the people. Layla never again repressed her losses. She learned that pain is an intrinsic part of life, and that true strength lies in allowing it to flow without judgment. She returned to her village, no longer as the strong one who endured everything, but as the wise one who had found peace in her own vulnerability. The melancholy in her eyes was replaced by a deep serenity. She began weaving again, not magical tapestries to sell, but small fabrics for herself and those she loved. Each stitch a prayer, each color a lived emotion, each thread an acceptance of impermanence and the beauty of life. By allowing the submerged river of tears to flow, the soul is purified and finds the peace that resides in the acceptance of impermanence and pain. Layla taught everyone that healing begins when you dare to water your own land with the tears that time has hidden, allowing life in its fullness to continue to flow. If you feel you carry a submerged river of unlived losses, and it's time to allow it to flow, comment below, "I allow the flow of healing." If this story touched your heart and you know someone who desperately needs to find peace in accepting pain, share this video. And to continue unraveling the mysteries of unlived grief and the truths the soul holds, subscribe to Hidden Paths and activate the bell. Your healing journey begins here.